Welcome to a new video with the electric trucker. I'm still on the racetrack at the Nurburgring. Most trucks already left on Sunday and most of the rest this Monday morning. But I'm not in a hurry since I'm already loaded and my drop-off is just around the corner. The first challenge today was getting out of the gravel. It's pretty tricky because the eActros is quite heavy, but with the electric drive and its precise throttle, you can get out without much trouble. The event logistic over the past few days was very interesting. There were so many trucks driving around here, and the villages around the Nurburgring are really narrow, so they set up temporary traffic lights to prevent two trucks from meeting head-on in a corner. You need to think about a few extra things when hundreds of trucks from all over Germany roll in compared to a regular race event. My first stop now is Ionity to charge up the truck because the battery is at 29%. Then I'll head to my destination, only 26 kilometers away. No fixed appointment, so I'll just unload the trailer when I get there. Rule number 1 as an electric trucker is to always start the day with a full battery and find a rest stop in the evening where you can charge up. That wasn't possible this time, but it's not a big deal since today isn't too stressful. It turned into a bit of an odyssey though. One charger repeatedly stopped charging, so I moved over to another one. That one started with 330 kilowatts, then suddenly dropped to 94. A little drop is fine, but 94 is too little. Then the next charger didn't want to work at all, and then the app stopped working as well. Luckily there's this one ENBW charger here that saved me. It's been running rock solid at 300 kilowatts for over an hour now. I've got one delivery point today, and then tomorrow I have a loading slot in Brussels. That's why I'll stay here longer. It makes no sense to rush off and end up charging somewhere more expensive. Here I'm paying 33 cents net per kilowatt hour, which is about as cheap as it gets in public charging. I'll charge to about 95%, get the trailer, unload my goods, and then see what happens next. I've just finished unloading at the ramp and everyone was super friendly. I can't really do the local dialect, but the mood was great, and I delivered something for the wine industry. Now I'm completely empty and heading for Belgium, which I've actually never driven into before. I've always managed to avoid it, since you need a toll box there. So this will be a little challenge. It's about an hour to the border, and apparently there are service stations where you can pick up one of those toll boxes from a machine. I just parked at the Belgian border because at these machines you can get yourself a toll box. You just click through the menu, enter company info, your vehicle details, including the emissions class. There's also a scanner for the registration documents. Then you add your payment method, and finally the hatch opens and out comes this absolute monster of a toll box. It's huge, with a cigarette lighter plug for power. You can return it at the same kind of stations too. I think it's pretty cool that the whole process is fully digital and available 24/7. I think this experience is really valuable. I've mounted the toll box and of course it immediately showed me an error. Not ready, vehicle data incomplete. When it's red, you're supposed to call the service center, so I did. At first the guy was super unfriendly. He asked me how long I had the ignition on, since the box needs power. I said, about 5 minutes, and he goes, no you didn't, I can't hear the engine. Well yeah, because it's an electric truck. After that he got a little friendlier. The first explanation was that for statistical reasons, battery electric trucks have to be manually activated, even though you already entered that it's a zero-emission vehicle when registering. Then I called again because the first guy couldn't really help, and the second person said the problem was the 42 tons I had correctly entered as the permissible total weight. Apparently their system thinks that's an error. I'll try rescanning everything at the service station, and just enter 40 tons instead. If it works, then at least I found a workaround. It takes a lot to get me worked up. But this situation is just crazy. I changed the weight to 40 tons, but the box was still blocked and nothing worked. Then I tried to reset it, but for that, you first have to call the hotline so they can give you the instructions. The reset didn't work either, and after endless back and forth, the guy finally told me I'd have to get a new box. But of course, you can't just swap it out quickly. No, you have to return the old one, re-enter all the information from scratch, and start over. By now, I've been stuck here for over an hour and a half, and the new box is now updating. And here's the kicker. I don't have to pay tolls anyway. It doesn't cost anything. All that hassle for €0. Unbelievable. You couldn't make this up. The whole thing really isn't intuitive. Even though the box clearly says I'm toll-free, I'm paying 23 cents per kilometer. That basically doubles my operating costs right now. I quickly asked Google Gemini, and in Flanders I don't pay tolls, but in Wallonia and the Brussels region I do in the lowest emissions class. The problem is, I don't even know where Flanders ends and Wallonia begins. But that explains why they make the box mandatory even for electric trucks. Because the rules change depending on the region. It's a useful learning experience, but honestly, one I would gladly skip. And the drama continues. Now it says, invalid data emission class registration, highest rates applied. The crazy part is, you can only enter two things. whether it's a zero-emission vehicle, and the gross vehicle weight. That's it. Nothing else. And now I'm supposed to call customer support again. I called them again, and now they're saying the gross vehicle weight isn't entered correctly. At first I had 42 tons in there, which is actually correct. Then they told me to change it to 40 tons. Now they want me to put in 50 tons. If you look at the registration papers, it does say 50 tons gross vehicle weight, but only with a special permit, which I obviously don't have. Without that, it's capped at 40 tons. Then, thanks to an EU regulation, you're allowed an extra 2 tons. So the real number is 42 tons. But they want 50 tons entered. They even escalated it with a supervisor. Feels like they've never seen an electric truck before. They told me to stop at the next opportunity and update it. And here's the most absurd thing about all this. I asked why I should pay for that extra weight if I'm not even allowed to drive that heavy. They said the toll is capped at 32 tons anyway, so I wouldn't pay more. Huge amount of drama for zero practical relevance. Everyone is just following the rules without thinking about it. As an e-trucker, the experience here is not great. I'm a bit north of Brussels now at a Fastned location, which is pretty cool with a good drive-through setup. But of course, you're wondering, where's my e-truck? It's not with the cars, it's over here with the trucks. This is the world's first Fastned truck charging station, and by station I mean there's one charger. It's running at full power, 350 kilowatts, which is the maximum the truck can take, and it's set up with a single cable on the left side. So now I can charge and be ready for the next day. We're being escorted by an Audi Q8 e-tron. Fun fact, it was actually manufactured here in Brussels, but the plant was closed earlier this year because the Q8 e-tron has been discontinued. Its unofficial successor, I think the Q6, is now made in Ingolstadt, and today we're transporting various company parts to where they need to go. I'm already out of Brussels, fully loaded, and my destination is Mden, but I won't be unloading until tomorrow. Today the plan is to drive to the depot in Leer, where I can charge at a cheaper rate. I'm taking a 45-minute stop here in Zwolle at a huge charging park. The Alpitronic 400 works flawlessly, charging at 350 kilowatts. It just rained a lot, but I'm glad it stopped. And I actually transported the sanitary facilities to this location. It has showers, toilets, and outdoor seating. And what's really cool is the lounge setup. You scan your phone or credit card to enter. Inside, there are USB-A and USB-C outlets, snacks, coffee machines, and fresh water. One small missing thing for me is a dedicated water tap for my water canister. But for a day trip, this setup is perfect. The only thing you could complain about is Megawatt charging. But wait, here it is. A Megawatt charger in the wild. In the app, it shows 1,200 kilowatts. A sign in front says 1,400 kilowatts. And the device itself is 1,000 volts, 1,500 amps. So 1,440 kilowatts. It's really well placed on the route between Brussels and Leer, or on the way to Mden. Makes charging an electric truck here super convenient. This charging park is really impressive, but I do have some thoughts. The roof structure is very elaborate, but it only keeps you dry when stepping out of the truck and plugging in the charger. Ideally, it should extend further forward. You can't exactly walk in front of the trucks if it's raining, and you can't climb over them either. I always say that we don't need roofs or MCS, but seeing it and using it yourself is awesome. Don't get me wrong, it's super valuable, and if it makes life easier for truck drivers, even better. What I always wonder is the economics behind it, because in this industry it's all about efficiency and cost. And the most interesting question is pricing for MCS. You'd think it would be significantly more expensive, but you could also argue that if trucks come in one after another, you could have bulk discounts and maybe even offer MCS at a lower cost. I'm not too convinced about that yet, but we really don't know how pricing will develop. Short term, it'll definitely be more expensive, but if there are real use cases where trucks come in one by one on a fixed schedule, it could be an exciting scenario. I'm almost back in Leer, where I'll be staying overnight, showering, doing laundry, and picking up the dog. 4 highlights all at once. The toll box has been showing €0 tolls from Brussels all the way to the Dutch border, so apparently what I read was correct. Tomorrow morning we'll unload the goods, and I'll see then how things continue. Over the weekend there was the Nurburgring truck race. Walking through the pit lane or the grid walk with the vehicles at the start was just awesome. That got me excited again, so I've signed up for the ADACE competition. It's an 18-hour race in the fall, where the goal is to complete as many laps as possible with an electric car. There are different classes depending on battery size. In spring, we raced with the Ioniq Classic, but unfortunately had to retire because the car broke down. The 18-hour race isn't really ideal for the Ioniq since it only shows its efficiency advantage later in the race, but in its class, I think we can compete. There's also a facelift Ioniq in the race, so I have a rival right away. It's also good practice for the spring race. Many people asked why my Ioniq broke down last time. It was the rotor position sensor, which detects where the rotor is in the electric motor, so the magnets and coils are controlled correctly. It had gotten corroded because the car had been standing for half a year, allowing moisture to build up. A very unlucky situation because normally the Ioniq is incredibly reliable.
Hey! Hey!
I'm now at the port of Mden and have been unloaded. I'm heading back to the depot since it's on the way south anyway. Dispatch is currently looking for a trip heading back to Belgium, because I'll need to go to Brussels again and then return here. It's not too bad to run a route twice, and they're trying to see if I can pick up another load on the way. Lately I've been having a bit of a struggle with our depot or the truck itself, because I couldn't charge again last night. These Siemens chargers had a software update, maybe that's the reason, and it was pretty funny at the pet boarding place. Apparently, Krummelix has a little gang of 7 other older dogs who always hang out in the corner. He gets along with the other dogs and keeps a distance to the younger ones. He's a pretty chill dog and did really well. He was well behaved, ate his food, and even got to sleep in the owner's apartment. I have some good news. The eActros started charging right away when I plugged it in. I also got some really interesting news about next week that I'll share with you in a bit. Now I'm heading towards Belgium, so I can run the Brussels route again. Everything is perfectly planned for the rest of the week, and the battery is fully charged. Coffee's ready in the cab, so we're good to go. I'm now heading to a warehouse to get loaded. The tour is then going to Belgium, though I don't know the exact destination. I could have switched to the eActros, but the reason I don't is this device here. It's been such an effort to get it working, so it makes sense to do this Belgium tour with the eActros since everything is already set up in this truck. And no other driver needs it right now, so I'm using it this week. And there's an Alpatronic charger right on the ramp. But unfortunately, it's not suitable for me. It's clearly not meant for public charging, probably only intended for 7.5-ton trucks or smaller. Still, it's cool to see. I don't even need to charge anyway. The battery still has plenty of power. It's just after 3:20 and I'm about to get loaded. I can still drive a few hours today, but my destination is over 6 hours away. 445 kilometers. It's west of Brussels, which fits perfectly with the tour I'll take tomorrow, heading back toward the North Sea. So everything is optimal. But in Eindhoven is a Shell Recharge truck charging park. I opened the Shell app, but Shell has no live data for this location. That's already a bad sign. It just says charging for trucks only. This location is exclusively for trucks. Cars and light commercial vehicles shouldn't use it. Maybe a reservation is required to access a charger. You're supposed to book a charging station in advance via the Travis portal. Now I hit the booking button, and I only see 3 chargers and the payment options. In the fine print, it says Travis charges an €8 booking fee per reservation. When I click it, I have to make an account. I'm in the booking process, but why am I suddenly in the UK? It's telling me to charge in Great Britain.
Huh?
So the Shell app doesn't work for this at all. We stick to the Travis website. I haven't even selected a location yet, but need to enter date and time first. I book it at 8 for 9 hours. But on the map, the location isn't even showing. How am I supposed to book it? We checked the link again, it's the right location, but now it takes us to the UK. How is that supposed to work? You can't actually book anything. I think there is definitely some room for improvement here. I already told you about the 24-hour race, and now in autumn, it's only an 18-hour race. The Ioniq really doesn't stand much chance because its small battery only pays off over long periods thanks to efficiency. For just 18 hours, you'd really need a car with a much bigger battery. So I thought, what about the eActros 600? It has 600 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. One lap at Hockenheim is about 4.5 kilometers, and the past autumn winners did around 210 laps. Multiply that out, and you get roughly 950 kilometers. That's doable in an eActros as long as it doesn't drive too fast. And the 20 kilowatt charging brakes? You could completely skip that and just drive the whole 18 hours as smoothly as possible, maximizing regen. The energy consumption would actually be really low. I contacted the organizer to see if we could get an exception. The guy in charge thought the idea was super cool but already lowered my hopes. But he said he'd check with the track owner. If this works, it would be insane. It would really show that these electric trucks are so capable, they can even beat passenger cars. I'd say there's about a 20% chance it could happen, but if it does, it's going to be a proper celebration and you're all invited. Charging is way more fun with Krumeliks around. I ended up in Venlo at the Mylent station, topping up the truck because I wasn't in the mood to drive any further. And there's that crazy Dutch guy again with his Volvo FH electric gigaliner, a full semi-trailer and another trailer behind it. Correction. It's not just one gigaliner, there's a second electric gigaliner. I'd love to drive one of these. That would be quite an experience. Now I have to pull up to this ramp. Squeezing in between two trucks is always a bit tricky. That's the thing with these warehouse tours. You end up standing on the parking lot for a long time, then more at the ramp for unloading, and suddenly 4 hours have gone by. Even if you have a time slot, it doesn't necessarily make it better. It makes sense to take these tours to earn a bit extra, but they're really unpredictable. That's exactly why many trucks end up driving empty. They stick to their main customers who need to be served on time. You really can't rely on these kinds of jobs to run on schedule. I'm not bothered by it, and there's nothing you can change in the moment, but I think it's useful context for you because it explains why sometimes I've driven empty. I'm loaded, and I still have to fight my way through the city center before getting back on the highway. Let's see how far I get today. I definitely won't make it to Leer because my shift time won't allow it.
Fahren Sie in den Kreisverkehr und nehmen Sie die zweite Ausfahrt.
A quick charging stop at Fastned. This is the same place where I already spent the night. It's perfectly on the route, and I have 3 reasons to stop here. First, for driving hours, so I can reset a few hours to keep going. Second, for range, because the battery was a bit low, so a top-up doesn't hurt. And I also took a short nap. The tricky part is that my shift hours are running out, because I spent so much time at the warehouse today. I'll barely make it to Zwolle. I know it's a bit uncreative since I've already been here and in Zwolle, but the location is just perfect on the way. The plan didn't work out. I'm stuck in Antwerp and the road is completely blocked. The lane I'm in hasn't moved a meter for 10 minutes, probably due to an accident. You can never really plan for that, but it's another learning experience. I wanted to reach a station where I could park overnight and the time didn't really matter. But if I can't make it there, I won't find a spot anywhere else. It's not about charging, it's just about finding somewhere to park. You really shouldn't plan too tightly, especially in the evening when traffic jams happen. No navigation system can predict accidents like this. Since I'm stuck in traffic, let me tell you a little story. A few months ago, I reported on DHL. They want to deploy a battery electric truck between 2 parcel hubs in Hamburg and Berlin. But then things get funny. They claim it's impossible because the range isn't enough, and building charging infrastructure is expensive. So what's their brilliant idea? They're adding a range extender to the electric Scania. At first I thought, okay, a hybrid like in the late 2000s. But they're actually serious. They even wrote a multi-page paper to the government, complaining about charging infrastructure costs, expensive batteries, peak load costs, and the impossibility of depot charging. It's like Diesel Dieter himself wrote it. And here's the funniest part. They even want tolls to be calculated individually. So when the truck drives on electricity, no toll, but when it's running on gasoline, it pays tolls. I thought the trend was to reduce bureaucracy, not to increase it. But Hamburg to Berlin is only 290 kilometers. Modern Scania trucks can easily do that round trip. You only have to electrify one depot. Such news is so absurd, you just have to laugh about it. Now it's a race against the clock. I've only got 1 hour 14 minutes left. For the Netherlands, we have very little community-maintained data. We mostly get info from the CPOs about where you can park with a trailer, but very few spots allow overnight charging. Most are just drive-through solutions, but they don't help me right now. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So I'm making the best of my situation. I'm northeast of Utrecht at a really cool Allego charging station, which I found via the eTrucker app. There's also a hydrogen station here, with 350 bar and even 700 bar options, plus a wooden structure and a little shopping area right by the highway, but no official truck parking. I found this spot through the app and got here exactly 10 minutes before the end of my driving time. Perfect timing. Now I can even reach Mden in the first 4.5-hour shift tomorrow. I'm actually going to stay parked at this charger overnight. I hope people forgive me for staying here for 9 hours. If anyone knocks, I'll leave. But another truck could still park here, and there are 2 more Allego chargers in the back. I don't have my emergency signs with me. Normally I carry 2. One to let people know that the charger reduces power if 2 vehicles are charging, and the second explains that due to tight scheduling, I'm staying overnight at the charger. But if someone needs to charge, they can wake me up and I'll move. But I have to give credit to Allego. They worked really closely with us to make sure all eTruck compatible locations are in the app. That was a really cool collaboration. They put in a lot of effort and see the potential. The downside with Allego is the prices aren't super attractive. Freight companies probably need to ask them directly if they can get better rates. I'm using the EWE Go card to activate charging, which gives me 52 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the net price, so it doesn't feel too expensive, and given the situation, 52 cents is okay. A cheaper price would obviously be better, but this works fine for now. Earlier, I drove in just as my colleague finished unloading. Perfect timing. That way, I've made up for all the time I lost yesterday. Now I'm heading back to the yard in Leer to drop off the trailer, since I won't need it for a while. I've also already got info on next week's route. We're heading to the city of Aksaray, which is in Turkey, so I'll probably need to charge along the way. I've completed all my assignments and I already found my trailer for next week, number 132, a long-haul Krone trailer that I normally use, with big side storage compartments. As I mentioned, the Iveco was perfect for this week, and it was a lot of fun to be back on it, but it's now parked up front, completely cleaned, and ready for the next driver. I'll be switching back to the eActros 600. It's parked back behind the Volvo and ready for next week. Next week will be the wildest and toughest tour I've ever done. We're heading to Turkey. I'll explain at the start of next week what this tour is about and exactly what I'm transporting. I already have a bit of respect for it. It's not just a simple trip across Europe. The route goes through Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and deep into southern Turkey. It's going to be a really demanding tour. It's also a heavy load, so it's going to be pretty intense. If you want to see the video earlier, you can get early access with a YouTube membership. I'll see you next week for the wildest road trip yet here on the Electric Trucker channel. See you then. Ciao.